Hello, everyone, and welcome to Pride Action TV. My name is Kim Hunt, and I'm the Executive Director of the Pride Action Tank, also called PAT. Pride Action Tank is a project incubator and think tank focused on improving outcomes and opportunities for LGBTQ people and other marginalized groups, and we are a project of the AIDS Foundation of Chicago. Before we get started tonight, I want to remind folks that this is a call-in show, so feel free to give us a call at 312-738-1060. And just for folks who want to know more about Pride Action Tank, what you should do is check us out on our website, prideactiontank.org, and check us out on Twitter and Facebook and all of that good stuff, and you can find out more about what we do and some of our partner activities that we support. So today I am very happy to welcome one of my colleagues from the AIDS Foundation of Chicago, Sarah Samelka, who is, you can say hi.
Hello, everyone.
Who is going to talk to us today about a topic that I think people don't talk enough about.
Okay.
And the two words that we are bringing together that people don't usually hear together are PrEP and women.
Yes.
And Sarah does a lot of work at the AIDS Foundation of Chicago that's focused on that and other issues related to women's health. So Sarah, why don't you start by just telling us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Sure. So as Kim said, my name is Sarah. I work at the AIDS Foundation of Chicago in our Policy and Advocacy Department. One of the projects that I've been working on for the past 3 years is the Midwest HIV Prevention and Pregnancy Planning Initiative, which is a mouthful. We affectionately call it MIPI for short.
Because we break everything down into an acronym.
We have to have acronyms.
At AFC.
We do, at AFC, exactly. But it's a project that covers an 8-state region of the Midwest, as in the title. And what we do is we connect with women's healthcare providers specifically to talk to them about the reproductive needs and desires of women either living with or vulnerable to HIV. For a very long time, kind of in the HIV world, especially at the beginning of the epidemic when we didn't understand it as much, really the idea of having children was off the table. And people wouldn't really talk about women or men living with HIV having biological children. That was just something that was considered a dangerous, taboo, all of this. And so as we learned more about HIV, as we got more effective treatment, and now as we talk about prevention methods, that's really something that we want to open the door to. That women who are living with HIV can have HIV negative babies. If your partner is living with HIV, you can become pregnant. We'll talk about that more today, but you can become pregnant safely and remain negative, and your baby would remain negative. And we just want to let people know that's a thing. That's possible. There's resources to help you. We want to get that word out to women. Women especially, because that's what our project is focused on, but in women and men, and any couples that are affected by HIV, and whether they're vulnerable to it, or live in a high incidence community, and things like this. So that's a little bit about what MIPI works on. I also work on a project at AFC called RSP, which is Ready, Set, Prep, where we do community education about PrEP more in general, and that's more here in Chicago. So we talk about kind of what is PrEP and who is it for and all of that, and we'll get into some of that today. So those are just some of the projects that I work on, and we really do want to get the word out about PrEP to our communities and answer people's questions about it too.
Excellent, excellent. So let's jump in.
All right.
And let's start with the basics.
Okay.
What is, let me see if I can even say it, pre-exposure prophylaxis.
You got it.
Otherwise
Yes.
known as PrEP.
Yeah, so pre-exposure prophylaxis. Yes, so that is, again, it's something, when we have pre, that means before exposure. So it's something that people who are HIV negative can take before they would get exposed to HIV. And so just the general PrEP, just to say PrEP, it could take many forms. But right here now in the U.S. in 2017, we have one pill that's FDA approved for that. We can bring this up.
Information up.
So it's PrEP. It would consists of taking the ARV, again with the acronyms,
Yes.
that's antiretroviral, which means that ARV are medications that we actually prescribe to people living with HIV to help keep the virus under control. But what researchers found is if you take this one pill out of kind of the treatment cocktail, Truvada, that people that are HIV negative or not living with HIV, you can take that as a prevention method. So it's actually this month of July is PrEP's birthday. So it's happy birthday to PrEP, 5 years.
Happy birthday, PrEP.
Yes, and so yeah, it's a pill that you just take once a day, every day, and that builds up the medication in your system, so that if you were to be exposed to HIV, it would not take hold in your body, and so you will not get HIV.
And the slide says it's 99% effective.
When used consistently and
When
correctly,
used. Yes.
which means adherence, as with as with treatment, PrEP as a prevention, adherence is really important. And so a couple of points we want to talk about too when we're talking about PrEP is, so let's say you bring this up with your provider and you decide this is something you do in conjunction with a provider. It's not a DIY situation. You really want to have an open, honest talk with your provider. And when you talk about why you might want to be on PrEP, who might want to be on PrEP. If you are HIV negative, that's the first criteria. But then if you maybe don't know the status of your partner, or you have multiple partners and you're not sure, you just kind of want that extra level of protection. If condoms are not working out for you, because again, just like with PrEP, the key to condoms is consistency.
Yeah.
If you're not using a condom every time, there might be a chance of exposure there. So as we always like to say, as one of my colleagues says in our PrEP presentations, the condom that you wore on Friday is not going to protect you on Saturday. So if you are not using it every day, that's something where you might want to assess, okay, am I exposing myself perhaps? So that's why PrEP might be something that's great for you. And so, again, it's something you want to talk to your provider about. If you decide this is something that sounds like it would fit your life and that you want to try, you will, again, talk about your provider, and there's a few, or several, I guess, tests that you first take. First, you want to take an HIV test because you need to be HIV negative to be on PrEP. That's key. If you are positive, what you want to do is be linked to care, and your provider can help you do that, and that's something we can definitely move forward with your treatment. But if you're negative, then PrEP, you're a good PrEP candidate. Okay. You also will take a couple of tests, so like a kidney function test, a hepatitis test, just kind of some baseline STI tests as well. And if you were able to get pregnant, you'd take a pregnancy test. And get the results of those back, and then you would start on, some people will start you on PrEP right then, or you can come back and get on PrEP. Okay. And so you get a prescription, and your prescription is typically for 3 months, because you want to have an HIV test every 3 months to ensure that you're remaining negative. So there's that. So you get your prescription and just kind of go from there. And again, it's once a day, every day. Another important point that we want to talk with people. So let's say you're like, okay, I'm on PrEP, got my prescription, got my pill. I take a pill today. Tomorrow, you're not going to have that full protection. So there is a time it needs to build up in your body. So and then we're also going to talk, is it okay to have some real talk here about some sexual health topics? Okay, because that's, we have to talk about.
Count on that.
Yeah, so we have to talk about, like I said, this is why you need to have open, honest conversation. What type of sex you're having. So if you are using PrEP because you are having anal sex, and that's something that you're engaging in, and you want to ensure that you're not getting HIV, you want to be taking PrEP for 7 days to make sure there's enough that's built up in your system. And then, once a day, every day, after 7 days, there's enough, we call it on board, to provide you that protection. Then when we're talking about the 99%, that's where you're going to get up to that. So you take it every day. For as long as you're on it, you take it once a day, every day. But on day 7 is when if you were to have condomless sex, for example, and be exposed to HIV, it would not take hold in your body. If we're talking about vaginal sex, it's a little bit of a different story, and that's when we're talking about women. We want to bring that up. And again, also just a disclaimer that everyone with a vagina is not a woman, and not every woman has a vagina. So sometimes we just want to make sure we're talking. If your concern is like protection while you're having vaginal sex, you want to take it for 20 days before there's enough on board.
And why is there that difference?
So it's kind of hard to pinpoint, and the research is still, this is kind of the leading edge of science. So there's there's a lot of research trials take like years and years, but it is something about it's different. It's a different part of your body. So actually, when you're having anal sex, I mean that's part of your intestinal tract, whereas the vagina is part of the reproductive system. So it's a different system in your body. The tissues are different. The tissues right around like the rectum, that's 1 cell layer thick. The vaginal tissues are 40 cell layers thick.
Interesting.
So it might have something to do with, that tissue, the thickness of the tissue. Again, also when you you swallow PrEP, it kind of goes through your digestive system, and some of it kind of goes out the other end, as with all medications.
Right.
And so it's actually kind of physically in the tract where but like if you are, the vagina is not really part of that system. So it's kind of building it up in different parts of the body. So it's not like pinpointed exactly why, but when they have done trials on people who are using it for anal sex and vaginal sex, they've noticed that you really do need that 20-day time period to really build up. So if you are talking to someone who is using PrEP for vaginal sex, you want to make sure that they're on it for 20 days, and that's when there's enough that's on board. So in that 20 days, you want to have some other alternate plan for how you're going to protect yourself, whether that's male condoms, female condoms, just abstaining from sex. Everyone's different. And so this is why you really want to have these conversations. It's not something you just kind of decide on your own, because you need that protection plan for the in-between time. So whether vaginal or anal sex, though, however you're using it to protect yourself, you do want to take it once a day, every day, for as long as you're on it. You could be on it for years. You could be on it for 1 year. It really depends, and again, that's the conversation you want to have. It's not something you need to be on for the rest of your life. It's not.
So people are on and
you can come on and off again under the care of your provider. They'll tell you because there's like a tail, so you want to come off of it in a certain way, and so they'll guide you through that. But so that really is something you want to do with your doctor, with your provider. And have them know your plan. Like I said, if you're like, I'm thinking about coming off, they'll tell you how to come off, and you can start it again too.
Okay. Before we go any further, I just want to remind folks, feel free to call in if you have any questions or comments. The number is 312-738-1060. And I want to go back to something you said a little earlier, not that long ago.
Sure.
You mentioned condomless sex.
Yes.
Are there any guidelines for forever? Folks were told wear a condom, wear a condom, wear a condom as one method of safe sex.
Yes, and we are people in the prevention world. We are for all kinds of prevention, and so because I'm a PrEP educator, a PrEP advocate, I'm not anti-condom. And if condom, and the thing is, if condom works for you, that's great. And we encourage condom use. And that is something you can definitely use. But that was the gold standard for so long. Condoms, condom. That was drilled into us, and that's really for a while we had. And so people that have been doing, the safer sex work, and they've been doing prevention work, it was really drilled in condoms. And condoms, like I said, if you use them consistently, that's great. There's been some studies about like usage of condoms over time. So if you're using condoms as your main prevention method, and if you use them inconsistently, over time, it's basically, if you're using condoms inconsistently for 5 years, that basically has the same end result as if you're not using condoms at all. Because you are, like I said, you have to wear them every single time, and they have to be put on correctly every single time.
Yeah.
And again, we are male or female condoms, like external or internal condoms. If those work for you, that's great. But for the longest time, safe sex equaled sex with a condom.
Right.
So that's when maybe the phrase condomless sex, because we used to call, if you were having sex without a condom, unprotected. That was kind of the phrases that we used in the prevention world.
Yeah.
Like unprotected sex meant sex without a condom. Well, now in the era of PrEP, you can be on PrEP, and which is it's something that's very proactive for your health. You are protecting yourself. So there is now such a thing as that is sex without a condom, but that's still protected sex because you are protecting yourself from HIV.
Right.
So that word condomless, it's kind of new. And again, it's not something maybe everyone is familiar with, but because we don't want to stigmatize, sex without a condom as unsafe or unprotected, because that person could be on PrEP. So they're
Right.
still taking a step for their health. So you can have sex without a condom, and it can still be safer sex. So that's that word.
Yeah, no, that's good because I know a lot of people are unfamiliar with that word.
Yeah, we're
And
trying to use it more.
Also, that I know because I've gone to some of your presentations and all of that, which are really fantastic, and you're really also very careful to qualify what you mean by protected sex and what PrEP is good for and what it does not protect
Yes.
against.
Yes. So yes, PrEP is not a silver magical bullet, or it's not anything people want to say. It's not the answer to all our problems. It is an amazing innovation. It is truly, it's something that is amazing breakthrough for HIV prevention, and it's something that we really strongly believe is going to get us to an age-free generation. So it is fabulous, and I am a pro PrEP advocate, but it is not everything. So and when you are protecting yourself against HIV, that's an awesome step for your health. But PrEP is not going to protect you against syphilis.
Yeah.
PrEP is not going to protect you from chlamydia, any other STIs. It is for HIV only. It's also not going to keep you from getting pregnant. So these are all other things sometimes that happen when you have sex. And so if you're, and it's different people, have different vulnerabilities depending on who they're having sex with, the parts of their body they're having sex with, and all these different things. So not everyone can get pregnant, for example. But if pregnancy is like something that is really top of mind and you do not want to have a baby, PrEP is not going to help with that. So you need to find an additional method to help you with that. Again, if you are trying to keep yourself STI free, anything that's not HIV, you'll also again need a different method, whether that's using a male condom, whether that's using a female condom, things like this. Getting tested regularly for STIs, which does happen when you're on PrEP, but you have to find alternate protection methods. So that's what PrEP does not do. And another thing I just want to point out quickly is that it's not a cure or a vaccine for HIV.
That's
So
good
that's
to
something,
say.
it's like, people they cure HIV, and it's like, is this like kind of the antidote for HIV?
Yeah.
And it's not treatment for HIV either, even though the pill Truvada
It's part of
is part
cocktail.
of HIV. It's part of but it's part of many drugs that you would take, and you
Not just one.
not just one. So you want to make sure that if that's why part of this whole program, we actually say PrEP is not just a pill, it's a program. Part of the program is getting regular STI tests, and that includes HIV tests. Because let's say that you were to become exposed to HIV before you had that full protection, with like we talked about the 7 and the 20 days.
Yeah.
So or maybe you've actually become exposed to HIV before you even on PrEP, and sometimes it takes a while for it to show up on tests. So if you are seroconverting, which means going from not having HIV to having the infection take hold in your body, you don't want to just take that one pill. You want the full regimen. So that's why it's so important for people because then you don't want your body to build up resistance.
Right.
So that's why we just need to have that negative test to make sure that that this will be doing what we want it to do, which is preventing HIV.
So thank you for that background, Sarah.
Sure.
I think that's very helpful for a lot of folks. And I want us to eventually tell folks how they can access PrEP.
Yes.
But let's talk about women in
All right.
PrEP
Yay.
first.
Sure. I like to
I know
hear,
that's
yes.
a topic
Yeah.
that's near and dear to your heart.
Yes,
So
yes.
so break this down for us
Yeah.
because we don't hear much, or I think the average person doesn't
Yeah.
hear much about women and PrEP and why this is such an important innovation.
Yeah.
for them. And when I'm saying women, I include cisgender women and transgender women as well.
Yes. Great. Yes. So women and PrEP. Yes, there's a lot there. And just some points that I definitely want to make. One is that we know that that the epidemic is, I think in the U.S. in general, but definitely here in Chicago when we look at the numbers, it is centered on men who have sex with men or gay men, especially young men of color are a group that we really want to pay attention to. So we don't want to take away from that at all.
Exactly.
And it is very important to get the word out to the people that need it, and that's young men of color are like, we need to be getting the word out to them and getting them connected to healthcare and on PrEP, if that's something that they want to need. So we just want to say that out front. But then also, that women are living with, there's many women living with HIV. Women are vulnerable to HIV in our communities. And that about 20% of HIV infections are among women. And women of color especially are vulnerable to it. So HIV is a thing among women, and that's something that's not talked about as much. Part of it is there's a lot of there's a lot of reasons for it. One of them is that a very efficient mode of HIV transmission is anal sex, as we've been talking about, and that's a very taboo topic in general, just in our society, but especially among women, even more so. And so it's something that women don't really talk about. They don't share that with their health providers. Sometimes they don't even share it with their partners. And research has shown that when women do have anal sex, it is very likely to be unprotected. So that is where the vulnerability comes in, because it's something that people don't want to like plan for, or you know what I mean, because it is so, it's this taboo topic, and so this just kind of happens, you know, like spur of the moment thing is how people don't want to plan for it and admit that this is something they enjoy or that they like or that they're doing. So that is what kind of makes women vulnerable to it in many ways. So we just want to let people know that that this, first of all, also the CDC has recommendations for who's eligible for PrEP. And nationwide, there's about 500,000 gay men or men who have sex with men that are eligible, and about 500,000 women. The numbers are about the same.
Interesting.
So so according to the CDC, you know, they kind of set out their guidelines of who's vulnerable and who would be a good PrEP candidate, as they say. About 500,000 women in the U.S. are eligible. Or like not eligible as in there's like an eligibility, anyone that wants to get on PrEP can. But
there are certain factors that are considered.
Yes, so that's something to know. So it's just we want to have this conversation. We want to integrate PrEP into sexual health conversations with women. A lot of times women will, part of the reason they're not hearing about it is they see who they see for their health care is, you know, that like if a women's health specialist is who they'll see, that's the only health care that they will get. And a lot of women's health specialists don't know about PrEP or don't think of their patients or their clients as PrEP candidates. So we're trying to get the word out among providers that, you know, when you're having safer sex conversations with women, or even when you're talking about pregnancy, you know, because that can kind of bring it up too. It's talking about, okay, do you want to be pregnant? Are you trying to get pregnant? If you are trying to get pregnant, you're probably having sex without a condom. So how are we protecting ourselves from STIs, including HIV, and like bring it up that way. Women's health providers are experts at talking to women about sexual health, and so we think it's only natural that you can really work PrEP into those conversations. But you don't have to be a women's health provider. You know, if you are someone who just talks about safer sex, if you're a community educator, PrEP should just be kind of part of your vocabulary, and then it's not something that's just for gay men. So that's what we want to talk about, is just that when you're having safer sex conversations with women, this should be part of what we call the toolkit. You know, when you're talking about how do you want to protect yourself, PrEP should be part of that. A couple other just quick things to mention. PrEP is safe for if you are a trans woman and you're on hormones. You can also be on PrEP. There's no contraindications there. So that's something you can use while you're taking hormones. You can also use PrEP during pregnancy and breastfeeding. And it's safe for that, and it's not going to have any ill effects on the fetus or your baby once they're born. So that is just a couple of things we want to talk about, is just that it is very safe, it's effective, it's safe during pregnancy, safe during breastfeeding, and safe if you are on hormones. So those are some points we want to make. And just the last point I'll make about specifically PrEP in women is that the daily adherence, taking one pill every day, is very important.
Well, you mentioned that 20-day window.
That 20-day window, and then even thereafter, really you want to take it every day. If you miss a day, it's not the end of the world, but you want to really, it's more important for vaginal sex than for anal sex to be taking your PrEP every single day. So we just want
to build up and
maintain
keep that the medication in your system.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if you wanted to, I know that our time is drawing to a close here. We have a little time left to talk about some of the local PrEP resources that we have. So we in Chicago have a really great campaign called PrEP for Love.
That just jumped.
There we go. There it is.
I love this campaign.
Yes, this is an awesome campaign. It is very sexy, and that's something we like to talk about too. As you're talking, for so long, it was like drilled into us to use condoms. It was also kind of fear was kind of part of all that discussion, that if you don't, this will happen to you. And we want to talk about, you know, why do people have sex Why are people intimate? Because they want that
Pleasurable.
connection. They want pleasure. They want to be with each other. So these are two of our models for the Prep for Love campaign, and they are the real Chicagoans. These are not
That's
models.
right.
You know what I mean?
They're
And
real people.
They're real people. They live in Chicago with all of us, and so we love this campaign. And so you can go to our Instagram, our Facebook, also prepforlove.com will tell you how to get PrEP, and the different ways it can be paid for. And so we can move to the next slide too, just to talk about, we are, like I said, taking PrEP is powerful, it's responsible, it's proactive. And if you are like, this sounds like something I want to, to access, to use, we have on the Prep for Love website, which is prep and the number 4, love.com.
Very innovative.
Yes, there's a PrEP locator. So there's a map where you can go and look at all the PrEP providers in Chicago. So you can find a PrEP provider. You can call the PrEP line, which is 872-215-1905. But you can also find all this on the Prep for Love,
Prep for Love
website. So you
website.
don't have to memorize this. If you just go Prep for Love, we have a lot of resources on there for you. A PrEP provider that you can get, connect with them, have these conversations, figure out if that's right for you. Another thing I wanted to mention too is that PrEP is covered by private insurance. PrEP is covered by Medicaid. So if you want PrEP, the bottom line is if you want PrEP, you can access it.
Yeah.
There are navigators as well. Again, if you go to Prep for Illinois, Prep for Love, you can find that you can get connected with PrEP navigators that will help you kind of work your way through the insurance system. If you're dealing with Medicaid, however you're insured, they'll help you pay for it. There's also a patient assistance program by the manufacturer. The manufacturer is Gilead. They have programs. There's also a couple other programs. There's a patient access fund, I believe, or it's PAF and PAN. Again, this is all spelled out on the website. And like I said, the bottom line is, if you want it, we'll help you get it. There's navigators that will hook you up with all the different payment assistance programs, and they'll help you. And it's here in Chicago, and it's here for you. So we can connect you if you want it. That's kind of the bottom line.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, we have covered a lot of ground. This is very important information.
Yeah.
And fortunately, the shows that we do are on YouTube, but we also put them on our website, which is at prideactiontank.org. So you can look for the shows there, because I think this is a great educational piece.
Yeah.
And our time just flew
Yeah,
again.
it flies. Time flies when you're having fun.
So
Yeah.
once again, we want to thank everyone for watching the show. Thank you, Sarah, for coming. And Pride Action TV will be back next month. Don't know what the topic will be yet, but it's going to be just as exciting as this one is, and just as informative. So thank you, everyone, for watching, and we will see you the first Friday in September.